Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to HomeStoryCup Group D. We got Serral Basilisk versus ShoWTimE or BIG. The first game of the front runners of Group D was Spirit versus ShoWTimE, where we saw Spirit come out on top. 2-1 versus ShoWTimE in quite the slobber knocker of a series. And now we're here to watch Serral versus ShoWTimE. So ShoWTimE would like a win here, because if he doesn't get the win here, he really needs to hope that Spirit loses out to other players like he did versus HSC23. Spirit actually lost to HSC23. So if ShoWTimE can win this match and the rest in his group, or just beat everybody 2-0 in his group, then there's a chance, but the chance is pretty slim. So ShoWTimE can keep his fate in this group in his own hands if he manages to beat Serral, which is a tall order for anybody on any day. We see fairly stock standard ZVP openers. We see hatch pool or hatch gas pool for Serral. The other side we see Gate Nexus Cybercore with second gas after all of those. Serral does scout the Chrono Boost on the first gateway unit. And he only has 2 links. I like this quite a bit. Just using 2 links to make sure that there's no pylon here. And on this map, you don't really mind taking this as a third, or even this base as a third. So the 2 links feel good. Now Chrono Boosting a Stalker for ShoWTimE here, and he actually has an Adept in his base. He's just looking around for lings. Okay, and we're back. Sorry, we had a small hiccup in production here. My speakers stopped working, or at least one of them, so I had mono sound instead of stereo. And I couldn't hear the Stalker firing sound, because apparently those only come from one speaker. So Serral's looking around for that third base to pop. We see your Oracle being chrono boosted out. Third base is down. We see 3 queens already out, 2 more on their way. 2 adepts sharking around, maybe looking to jump into that natural base whilst he harasses with the Oracle. But there are no workers at the third base right now. Shades are coming into the nat. There's no Spore over there, so he's going to scout that. And actually, the Oracles, or the adepts shade in, and the Oracle comes over as well. But the queens are targeting the Oracle, so it gets quite low. And now we actually have health bars as well. Sorry for this lack of production, guys. Third base is down for ShoWTimE. 2 adepts ready to defend, so nothing to be done with these 8 lings. Or 9 lings. Spore crawlers now being thrown down, and the third base has been saturated. So pretty impressive by Serral being able to defend this Oracle Adept harass without any spores. Just queens. Ooh, 1 queen actually gets popped. 2 drones get killed. These Oracle found a chink in the armor. But now these Oracles do have to run away from the Spore plus 2 queens. We see a couple more adepts here. There was not any glaives, so these are just adepts. So this is very different than the Stalker Oracle moveouts we've been seeing. For example, in the last video where we had Shadone versus Mixu, you basically went for a 3 Oracle Blink Stalker attack every game. But we see ShoWTimE deviating from that, not opting to go for that. Ooh, and the adepts get caught in the middle of the map. One dies, and the rest gets shaded out into the third base, so they get away. Oracles are chilling behind the main base. Maybe they can get something done when there's only one queen here. One queen and one spore. Like, they'll shoo these oracles away eventually, but he'll definitely get the queen kill and maybe a couple drone kills as well. Meanwhile, you see +1 attack for the Protoss with an Immortal on their way. Plus, the Zerg is focusing on lair tech and now finally getting his Evos and gases. We see one drone getting killed by this 3 Oracle squad. He's flying behind the bases, but can't really find an opening. Does find the third base, but 3 Oracle lasers are not quite enough to kill the 4th base. And once the queens come over and transfuse, all that energy has been spent for nothing. Lings keep poking around, but can't really find anything. Let's see what ShoWTimE wants to do here. He's actually warping in a cannon here. Very defensive. Warping in a robotics bay plus Twilight console, so teching quite a bit. So this move out, I expect, is more of a forcing out units, more of a move out, and not a I'm going to try and kill you now move out. So he's making gateways at the third, afraid of those banelings that might come. Since we do see +1 melee, we do see a baneling nest, but we also see a spire. That can be a nasty surprise if you're not ready for it. We haven't seen Blink, if I'm correct. No, there is indeed no Blink Stalkers. We do see a DT Shrine, we do see charge slots, and there's an Observer coming to finally get rid of some of this creep. So you don't have to spend your Oracle energy. So this is a move out that is not designed to really get a huge fight going. It's just ShoWTimE trying to make Serral uncomfortable. Get his 4th down behind it. Ooh, the creep was not down in time. Now these Zerglings are on their way, but the Oracles are here to save the day, and this Hero Zealot. Plus, ShoWTimE moves in to get a 4th base, and he kind of identified that's not a lot of roaches now, is it? I have 2 Immortals. So he walks in with his Stalker Force, and he has Guardian Shield, but Serral's pouncing on this army. And Serral chases him off creep, and ShoWTimE didn't really expect him to chase him off creep because he needs those Zerglings to actually chase him, which is why he moved in the first time anyways. And now there's a lot of Zerglings, so ShoWTimE is very hesitant to stay on this map. His Oracle energy is low, so basically Serral is the one with all the map control right now. Oh my god, he's getting caught. You don't really want to fight here, but he does have a nice force field wall for his units. But he's fully surrounded, and he does save a couple of his Immortals, but all of his gateway units are indeed stuck. Now the Archons, if they were connected to that army earlier, could have gotten rid of all those Zerglings. So really nice by Serral, staying on top of this, not letting ShoWTimE be out on the map. Giant wall by ShoWTimE, so he won't be expanding down anytime soon. And there are the Mutalisk. Didn't see those on the production tab, and ShoWTimE definitely didn't see it. And he just taps out. He's like, ah, surprise Mutas. I can't deal with those. GG. Next game. And we are back in Serral versus ShoWTimE for HomeStoryCup Group D. We saw Serral take a pretty convincing first game on Gresvan versus ShoWTimE, where he did something really cool that comes with the Ling Bane Ravager style, where you go for +2 melee and Banelings, but instead of spending a ton of minerals and gas on those Baneling run-bys, you can also spend all of that money on 10+ Mutas and surprise your opponent. And if they scout it, you can cancel it or just keep it around. And they have to kind of like make a couple cannons everywhere, maybe make 1 or 2 Phoenixes just in case. And you just don't have to commit to it, so it's really nice. And Phoenix are ass versus Banelings. They're okay versus high Ravager counts, or maybe even low Ravager counts, because then the impact of lifting and killing them slowly is more pronounced. But still, it's a really cool option that Serral showed there that we didn't get to see from, for example, Mixu in our last video. So we do see pretty similar setup for both players. Serral again going for the standard hatch first, gas into pool, and ShoWTimE going for the gate, Nexus, core into second gas. After which he'll also get his second pylon. So ShoWTimE scattering around a bit, being annoying, add those minerals, and I fully expect Serral to pull out of gas in a second. 4 links this time instead of 2. We do see another Adept being chrono boosted by Serral, and the Overlord, of course, sees everything. No gas being mined, so we only want speed, and after that, it's just a third base and drones. See one Ling heading out to get a nice scout. Adept was being chrono boosted out, is now shading forward. Kind of looking around the map, maybe trying to catch some type of Baneling morph, or just this Zergling. Maybe he knows that Serral always sends out a Zergling to scout for the third base, and he doesn't want that to be around. But he still has this Overlord to deal with. Now 2 Adepts are out. I don't know if that was chrono boosted, but those are of course a lot more scary. Could definitely endanger the drone count. 3rd Adept is underway with an Oracle. So curious to see if he's going to make 2 more Adepts and then eventually group up and have 4 Adepts to really shade up into a mineral line and cause some havoc. Ooh, he shades up into the natural. Clicking drones, he clicked 2, and now he has to take a lot of queen shots here. And he also takes a couple lings with him, but it's only 2 drones and 4 Zerglings for 2 Adepts. Not the greatest trade. Alright, he makes those 2 Adepts to secure his third base with a pylon and 2 Adepts snuggling up in there. Second gateway being added on so we can actually close this off. Before there's Zergling speed, there's no real reason to do that, because slow Zerglings are pretty ass. We have 2 Spore Crawlers underway for the 1 Oracle, 2 Oracles that are already on the field, and we see a 3rd one underway. Let's see if there's going to be a Twilight Console with Blink, or is it going to be something different? We do see the Oracles sharking around, and the creep is pretty much uncontested. That does worry me, but maybe ShoWTimE has a plan. He gets 1, 2, 3, 4 drones. So that's a nice drive-by. The anti-drone lasers doing their job, and there's a robo underway. So no Twilight Tech. We have a robo that it is scoutable, but it is slightly hidden. It's not at the third base. 4 Adepts get into the nat. 1 more drone gets killed, and now he's just shooting at... Oh, another one. He's also killing some lings. Another... Ooh, 9 drones in total with the 4 of the Oracles. Now the Adepts come into the third base, and they're just targeting drones. Adepts are not quite Banelings, but still, 11 drones did die, and now Serral is at 50 drones versus 50 drones of ShoWTimE. So, if ShoWTimE can stay alive here, that was definitely just worth it. Slowing down the economy of the Zerg. Still all 3 Oracles are actually alive. He sent 1 back home because it was low anyways, and it can help defend the 3rd. I like that. Sentry, please don't do anything stupid. We see +1 underway. We see Immortals underway. I see Sentries. Is this a Soul Train parting? Please confirm. There is also a Warp Prism underway, +1 being chrono boosted. If we see a couple more gateways, then this could definitely be a Sentry Immortal attack. Another one of those cannons. He really likes putting down this singular cannon. I wonder why that is. maybe a cannon plus a battery just defends that base well. And that he doesn't really want to, like, leave units there. Because you have limited warp-ins. Right now. Ooh, nice force fields to catch a couple of these queens. There's only one Ravager. Does get a value bile-off. So 2 queens do bite to dust. I think it was even 3 queens. Warpism is here, warping in those stalkers. There is no blink, but Serral doesn't know that quite yet. He's targeting the 5th base here. Nice force fields being really annoying, even though Ravager Biles exist. And now ShoWTimE is on the retreat. That base is really low, but Serral defends by the skin of his teeth, pulling all the queens, morphing the Ravagers, and just pumping Roach Ling. On the other side, we see +2 has started. DT Shrine has started, probably for Archons, which cost a little bit less gas. Making disruptors for gateways and Charge Lord Archon. I feel like this is going to be a big attack with +2, whilst taking his 4th base behind it. An Evo Chamber does get thrown down. There's already 1 Baneling Nest as well, so we're going to see that Ling Bane Ravager force once again with some roaches mixed in, of course. 4th base. Or, I guess this is the 5th base, because there's barely any drones here. Well, the 4th base is pretty low. I wonder if he's going to do a secondary attack. Maybe even send out a Warp Prism with a couple Zealots or even DTs to just snipe that baby. Even just 2 Disruptors throwing their Disruptor Novas onto that hatchery could do some damage. I think you need 2 volleys of that, and then suddenly that hatchery is just a goner. Because it's not being transfused. And the Warp Prism gets into the main when speed finishes. Nice timing by ShoWTimE. Being a little bit annoying, but not warping in a whole lot more units. Meanwhile, we see some hallucinations scattering around. 1 Zealot's bites to dust. Gets killed off indeed. We just see Archons being added on. Cheap Archons, gas-wise. And we see a move out by Serral using the Overlords and Queens to get some creep up in here. To really assist the Banelings from coming in. And we see a lot of Banes. That was like 19. This is like 30 Banes, my guys. Ooh, and 2 Archons are pretty good, but not against that many Roaches. So, ShoWTimE created a pretty nice choke here, and he has 3 cannons ready to defend. They're actually pretty nice position. Demour is ready, but there's just a lot of Banelings. He just moves them in. He's here to kill your Nexus plus all of your probes. And 14 probes plus 2 wasn't quite done yet, so these probes survive. And now Force Field, pretty nice. There's not a lot of Ravagers. And this Nexus also survives. If we look at the probe count, it's almost 70. Not that bad for ShoWTimE, but if we look at the supply, if he can max out on these Archon Disruptor units, those are pretty high value compared to these Lingbane Ravager Force. Although, you know, Queens are good units. Can't discount them. Nice Stasis Ward. Gets triggered by Serral with the cheap units, so he can now move in with all of his more expensive high DPS units. And it's so nice. The Banelings are near the Nexus, and they just tank a lot of damage from the Stalkers, which shoot really slow. Archons also shoot really slow, so they're still buffering a lot of the damage, and then they explode and still do damage onto the Nexus. So they kind of do a double job there, which is super key. If you just... Oh! Ooh, that was a pretty nice Disruptor hit. Let's see if you can get a couple more. These Archons are tanking really well. Stalker's also tanking really well, but he did clump up a little, and Serral just has a lot of Banelings to spend. He has money. Big spender over here. And over here, there was apparently another run by. Killed off a couple more units, but as we can see, these Protosses like making probes 4 at a time. At some point, we're going to see Protoss just throw down a macro nexus to have that 5 pro production and more chrono boost to survive against this Baneling onslaught. These Banelings just running into your natural and your third. Although, they're nerfing the Banes, so maybe they don't need to make that adaptation. Or maybe it isn't worth it in the first place. But it's cool to think about nonetheless. We see a 6th base being established for Serral. There's some War Prism harass going on. So, he's trying to kind of pulls Serral attention away from the front so that he can get a couple nice disruptor hits, or that Serral can't perfectly control on both sides. Damn, Archon's doing their job, tanking really hard, but that's a lot of Banes. And they do get in the natural, and +2 is done right now, so 15 more probes die, and a bunch of ShoWTimE's army does get killed as well. Even though ShoWTimE has Archon, Stalkers, and even had some Immortals, which are all really cost-effective against these Banelings, Serral still gets a pretty good trade. As we can see, a lot of units killed by ShoWTimE, mostly Lings and Banes, while Serral's really gunning for worker kills. Ooh, Zealots get caught. That's a good trade for Serral. Serral's still maxed, and ShoWTimE never really being allowed to max out by Serral. Serral just keeps throwing units at him, and ShoWTimE has to defend his base. If he moves back even an inch, his probe line is under fire, so he needs to hold the line. And that is very difficult, and it's 22 more Banelings being morphed in, and they're pretty good against against buildings as well. ShoWTimE is going to start running out in the main, in the natural, so effectively only 2 clean bases right now, with his 3rd base also starting to look a little shoddy. We do see a nice force here walking around, maybe establishing or making sure that at some point he can take that as a 5th base. Still really hard to defend that much space though. Banelings walking in, want to get some damage done, they can't get through there. And now ShoWTimE is moving in, 160 supply. I kind of hope for him that this is a feint until he can actually max out, which he's almost there. +1 shields really value in this meta with Blink Stalkers, Archons, and nuclear batteries. Recharging those very shields, you can get like 3-4 times your shields on like a Stalker or an Archon with nuclear batteries, and then +1, +2 shields, super value. The Banelings move in onto the Disruptors, and they can't quite get the value, but I don't know if this is enough. A couple drones are finally dying here, but the Archons are losing their shields. ShoWTimE making Serral sweat. Can he hold not his 6th base? He can't hold that one. That one goes down. And Serral has the same problem as ShoWTimE now. We do have 1 base. We have 2 base, but not a 3rd one. They're all kind of getting low on minerals. So this is a winnable position for ShoWTimE. He's keeping up on his upgrades, but Serral is actually miles ahead. Oh my god, and the Disruptors get caught, but he does get 2 Disruptors. Oh, there's no War Prism here to pick them up. So he just lost 3 Disruptors there. And you kind of see that hit in the supply. He would have liked to keep those, and you see the 3rd base is even running out of minerals. He's super saturated all of his bases in preparation for those Baneling run-bys. Crazy adaptation by these Protoss players nowadays. But as you can see, there's just no 5th base for ShoWTimE. And where do you take it on this map? I think you want to take this one on the high ground and just barricade this ramp? And barricade this ramp or something? It's really hard to hold another position for the Protoss player. Unless you go into like air units, but he doesn't have the money to do that transition at any point. Getting +3 now, +3 Protoss units are good, and he's still keeping up his supply. Really good job by ShoWTimE, and being so active on the map, actually insane. how he's being so active on the map, even though Serral has so much creep spread in the middle of the map. He's making sure that he has space to play on. This one lone Archon, he's sad that he got left alone. And now he dies for ire. 2 more Archons are in this War Prism, so kind of sloppy from ShoWTimE. Being forced to make mistakes by Serral's play here. Oh, he actually pulls in the Archon. I don't know if ShoWTimE dislikes that. Oh my god, that's a lot of Banelings over here as well. Charge lots charge in anyways for ire, my dudes. And the Archons and Stalkers are barely not enough, and the force gets cleaned up. But ShoWTimE is on the hunt here. Taking out a bunch of creep as well. Archons in the main. Archon drops at 17 minutes. We haven't seen that for a while. And now ShoWTimE finally gets the job done. Gets this 4th base. Finally, he prepared it 10 minutes ago. Oh, and the Banelings get on top of his army. Oh my god, and ShoWTimE just doesn't have a lot left in the tank. He gets caught by a giant Zergling swarm who got onto his army because the creep was still kind of there. Not enough Archons to dissuade Serral from going in, and now suddenly ShoWTimE's army is looking rather small. 122 supply against 170. Disruptor gets pulled in, and all he can do is warp in, start a nuclear battery, and hope to hold on here. DT's being warped in as kind of a desperation measure, but ShoWTimE needs this 5th base. He can't mine anymore. His natural is dry, his main base is dry, his 4th base is dry, and his 3rd base is almost non-existent. This 5th base is his leash on life, and he lost it. This is a dead man walking right now. But he did do some damage to Serral, and Serral only 55 drones. So actually, if ShoWTimE gets a couple transfuses, like a couple blood transfusions from this 5th base by starting that Nexus now, rather now, he just wants to start it yesterday. But he doesn't dare do it. He doesn't have the map control. So I don't see a way back for ShoWTimE. I guess he wants to maybe take this top base, but Serral will know right away. There's also a bird. No, that's a bird, not a burrowed Zergling. ShoWTimE walks into the 4th base with his whole army. Kind of a desperation attack. Not saving any money for that Nexus. And he's just trying to get the job done. He's like, I can't let Serral have that base. He'll just overwhelm me. But overwhelming he is already. And we see a recall to the 4th base. We have 3 Archons, 2 Disruptors, and a Dream. But these probes have to evacuate the prospecting 5th base. Because that's just a lot of Roachling. Tier 1 units from the Zerg actually looking real scary 20 minutes into the game. Now killing ShoWTimE's last remaining mining base, except for this, well, barely livable 3rd base. This 3rd base is already on life support, and ShoWTimE can't fight the army of Serral, so he just moves in and kills this. Well, let's call it a 5th base again. Serral was trying to establish it. What, 29 drones or probes just got killed. 40 workers in the bag for ShoWTimE. He's struggling to hold on. He wants to establish a 5th, but he just can't. And is forced to GG out by a maxed out Serral that ended up surrounding his last remaining bastion of forces. ShoWTimE fought valiantly in that game. Honestly, he could have done it, but Serral managed to hold on, even though ShoWTimE did such a good job of moving out and taking all those small things that Serral was, well, not allowing him to do. He created those opportunities himself by removing the creep in strategic locations and then being able to move into the 5th base without Serral being able to respond fast enough. But in the end, ShoWTimE just could not take that 5th base, and it's kind of kind of a theme that we're seeing with these ZVPs, that a 5th base is just so hard versus such a big swarmy army that the Zerg players have. They just have the creep, they have the Zergling, Roach, Baneling, and even Vipers in this game. And you just can't establish a foothold on the map. Because if you try to take that 5th base, suddenly your 4th base and your 3rd base and your natural, they're all under siege. And it's just so hard to correctly spread out all of your forces to defend. So we see Serral take the 2-0 here. Serral putting himself into a pretty nice position to get top 1 in this group. So the next series will be ShoWTimE versus Spirit. I think Spirit needs to win that one 2-0 to get out of this group. So thank you all for watching, and I hope to see you all in the next one. Cheers.